on our investigation and to hear from some members of the community. I'd like to welcome our Fire Chief, Sean Craig-Shea, to give you an update to that.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming. As you guys know, we had a fire that started this morning, approximately 2:30. It's still under investigation right now. The Duluth Fire Department Fire Marshal's Office and Deputy Fire Marshals are investigating. We've had help with the investigation from the Duluth Police Department, and the ATF has also been working on it with us. Right now, we're currently still working on the actual timeline, going over footage from witnesses and security and whatnot to try to actually pinpoint the timeline of events. So things are still under investigation. Right now, our biggest concern is public safety. We've got a very unstable building. If you've been to the scene, you've seen we've had a number of collapses on different areas of the building right now. So we're working to stabilize the building and secure the area. And then they're going to be doing some further investigation once that's done, a little bit into the evening tonight. So we're still working on some of that information. I can confirm that one firefighter was injured this morning on the scene, actively involved in fire suppression. He was treated and released from the hospital. I would not like to give out any information at this time because I haven't confirmed that he's been in contact with some of his family that lives out of town. So he was injured, he was brought to the hospital, and he is out at this time. One of the other things that we're looking for is just through our preliminary investigation, we have not found any signs of accelerants being used. But like I said, we're trying to shore up the building still, and there will be some further investigation into the evening. So, to talk about more of the law enforcement aspect, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Tuscan.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Tuscan. I'm serve as the police chief here for the City of Duluth. Certainly our condolences go out to the tobacco, firearms, and explosives that came up from the cities today to help us in our investigation. Know that we will work in earnest we will turn every stone on this investigation to figure out what happened. And certainly we are in the preliminary stages of the investigation. And we have today interviewed a couple people of interest, and we will see further what the fruits of those interviews were. And with that, I think that I've covered most of the details that I can share at this time. Just be patient. Remember, this investigation, or this incident, started at 2:22 in the morning. Fire was on the scene at about 2:25. Very quick response. Shortly thereafter, of course, our investigators responded, and ultimately we called out the Duluth Fire Department called out the ATF, and so we are working in earnest since 2 this morning, a little after 2 this morning, on this investigation, and we'll continue to work in earnest on it. After we are done here, I think we will have an opportunity to take a few questions. Just recognize if you're going to ask questions directly about the investigation, there's only limited details we can give at this time. So thank you, and I think Kate.
Next up, we'd like to have a member of the Adas Israel congregation join us to say a few words.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Baden. I'm a congregant and board member at Adas Israel. On behalf of the board of directors at Adas Israel congregation, I want to thank everyone for their concerns over this tragic fire. Many of us here today represent our grandparents and even our great-grandparents who built this synagogue. Special thanks to the Duluth Fire Department and Police Department for the heroic efforts in trying to save our synagogue. All of us in the Jewish community here in the Twin Ports are grateful to the entire community for your support. Thank you.
And as again, many of you know, our congregations, including from all faiths, are very important to our community. And so with that, I'd like to have another member from the faith community join us at the podium, our pastor from Glen Avon congregation.
Hello. I come bringing support and encouragement from the various interfaith communities that are here in Duluth, offering our prayers and support if there's something else we can do. Many of our churches have offered worship space, but we know it's hard at this time. We mourn with you and grieve, and we do commonly share a saying that goes, when one suffers, we all suffer together. But I add, together we can find courage and we can find energy and support to carry on. So we offer to the community today our words of prayer, hope, and encouragement as you go through this time.
And finally, before we break into questions, Mayor Emily Larson would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Kate. My name is Emily. I serve this community as mayor. I want to thank all of you for being here today. Particularly want to extend my condolence and my shared grief with the community and Rabbi. I know that this is a very difficult day for you, for your community, for our community, and I want to assure you that your struggle is our struggle. For people of faith in this community, this is often when we do good work together by sharing struggle and stepping into the space of healing and reparation with one another. So we will do our work as a city. I really want to thank our Duluth Fire Department, our Duluth Police Department, who do impeccable work. I feel very confident that we will get to the source of this fire, that we will come through to another space as a community in support of one another. And I do want to thank, we have had contact across the state and from our federal delegation as well, the governor's office, other cities who have reached out. And so as extended by Glen Avon, the depth of support is here, and we stand ready to support. I also want to respect the privacy of a congregation who is struggling with a fire and mourning loss of space that has been theirs for 120 years. So I want to respect privacy as well and know that we are ready to be called upon as a community as needed. So with that, I think you probably have questions. And Kate, is it now a good time to do that? Okay, great.
A question for one of the chiefs.
Yep.
And I know you can't talk too much about the investigation, but calling on the ATF, is that a little bit unusual? It struck us as...
Yeah, so it's a great question. So when there's a place of worship that is suffers from a fire, certainly it is a protocol to give them a call. They do have resources that are beyond our own, and certainly we again want to make sure we have the most comprehensive response we can. Recognize that with any investigation, you get one opportunity to complete it. It's best certainly if it's completed not only in a timely manner, but that you have as much expertise on the ground as you can. And that was certainly what we were looking at when we called out additional resources.
So is it being treated as if it could be a crime?
Absolutely. Any investigation that we do, we look to make sure that there is either a crime or the absence of a crime. So they all start off certainly with an investigation, and we let the facts lead us to the logical outcome, if you will.
And just one more real quick. Have there been any kind of record of any sort of threats against the congregation?
There has not.
You mentioned a couple of people of interest. Can you characterize their nature? Were they just witnesses?
Yep.
Can you go into a little bit of detail?
Yeah, early on when our officers responded to the scene, we did have contact with two individuals who were out at that hour. Got their names and their information. Today was a follow-up investigation with our arson investigator and the ATF to follow that lead.
Chief, I heard that maybe some Torahs were able to be saved. Can you say anything about?
They were, in fact, I think, Sean, you have some further information about the Torahs?
I can tell you that with the assistance of some of the synagogue leadership, they directed our firefighters to an area, and they did bring out definitely religious symbols. I don't really want to speculate on what that was. If there's anybody from the community that would like to, there were 8 Torahs saved. And I believe there was some other information as well from past members and some other historical documentation.
Bailey, I believe that there were 8 skulls that were saved, Torah skulls that were saved out of 14 total.
One of the congregants told us that the church did have some graffiti, the synagogue did have some graffiti at some point in the past. Do you recall, was that investigated?
So, graffiti is a problem that certainly any urban area has. Anytime we have reported graffiti, we make a case number and we have access to going back to look at records of that. Certainly recognize that we're into, really only about our 13th, 14th hour of this investigation. Many of those things may be followed up later on, but at this time, we're really boots on the ground with the scene. Again, there's only one opportunity to do this investigation and do it well. And that's starting with the scene and working our way out to other leads. So thank you, that's a good question.
Chief, do you have reason to believe this could be a suspicious cause?
I have reason to believe that their buildings typically do not start on fire for no reason. Now, whether that is an event that certainly happened from within the building, that would have been a mechanical failure, or it's something that happened externally. We have an idea, but we don't have enough facts right now for it to be for us to be absolutely sure as to what happened.
And could you tell where the fire began? Point of origin?
We, of course, point of origin is a critical fact for us to establish in any arson investigation, and that is certainly something that we have an idea about, but we're not really at this point. We don't want to release that.
So is an accidental fire by somebody, maybe a vagrant? Is that a possibility?
We won't comment on that right now. Again, just be aware that we want to have certainly do all of our due diligence and investigate, and then ultimately with those facts, we're going to be able to lead us to a point where we're going to be able to have not only determination of the what caused the fire, but certainly if someone is responsible, we want to be able to use that at that time to identify who
this is the third fire in maybe 6 blocks or so there in the last few years, starting with Gloria Day and then the White Church and now the synagogue. What can you say about that? I mean, it seems kind of odd.
We have old buildings in the city of Duluth. I will tell you that Anthony, that's not necessarily an indication just because you have a city where there's old buildings and there's been fires. There's nothing for us to believe at this moment that any of those, of course, are related.
There are homeless populations have been known to gather sort of in that area. Have there been any homeless people found there when you responded to the fire?
There was not.
Chief Crozet, your officers were just training last week in search and rescue. Did that come into play this morning?
From what I understand, the building was not occupied. It was secure when they got there.
For the firefighter, though? That was down?
Oh, for the search, yeah. Yes, he was actually, they did call a Mayday, which is something that we train on, and he was brought out by another crew, helped out with another crew. So, yeah, it came into play. And again, I know, your question of point of origin is important, but right now we're still working to stabilize the building. And as I said, we're going to do some further investigation later this evening, and that's why we're just not ready to point that out yet, because we want to make sure we get it right.
Were you able to get the natural gas shut off again?
They were stabilizing the building. That's one of the things that we were doing. So we're working with crews. The power was shut off early by Minnesota Power. They're working on the gas line shut down as we speak. So that's one of the things they couldn't do originally because they had to stabilize the west side of the building.
Any idea on when we'll be able to stop diverting traffic through there and those blocks will reopen?
Well, once we secure the building, that's going to be the big thing. So
Is there a loose timeline on that?
Well, we're hoping to have that at least stabilized this evening so we can finish our investigation. That's our timeline right now. We'll get it open as soon as we can, as soon as it's safe for the public.
Any final questions? If not, we'll be providing additional updates as this investigation continues, but again, would really appreciate thank you for coming today. Again, thank you for giving the congregation the privacy that they're asking for at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.